The Forever Bristol City podcast. We're in joyous mood this evening because up at the Riverside Stadium, first win in the league for City at the 7th attempt in 2024. It finished Boro 1, City 2. So joining me are regulars Ian and Mark. We'll dive into the action, but before we do, you first, Mark, just a 30-second summation of the afternoon's action.
It was a hard-working win and a classic game of two halves where City got 2 goals in 2 minutes in the first half, thanks to a 4-3-3 formation where they pressed well from the front, with Harry Cornick surprisingly being outstanding in the first half as both a focal point and someone who provided great passes to the front players. Those 2 goals were really a good value because in the second half, City switched to a back 5 and surrendered possession, having taken Cornick off at half-time, which surprised most watching. But we do like to be beside the Teesside. We got a great record up there, 3 points onto Southampton. And really, the players need some rest and relaxation. It's going to be a tough ask, but a good 3 points and welcome and a great relief after six games without a win.
After 6 in the league, yeah. Ian, your thoughts? You similar to Mark, I guess, yeah. But give me your view.
Well, my view, I thought the first 25 minutes today outstanding. Next 20 were good. The second half was brave and talented defending, but nothing much in their half. But if you'd have told me in August that we take 6 points off Boro, I think I'd have been pretty happy with that.
Yeah. No, that's right. I mean, and that's the first team we've done the double over this season because we beat them 3-2 back at Ashton Gate in our first game in under Liam Manning's tutorage, if that's the right word I can use. But there we go. Apologies for having a few little network connection problems. I'm doing it from home rather than in the office. But Ian, the team changes, there were many. What were your thoughts when you saw Liam's starting lineup?
I wasn't surprised, to be perfectly honest. I mean, with all the minutes in all the legs and the various issues we've had with fitness, which, touch wood, seem to be coming to an end or at least radically decreasing, I thought it was a good idea to rest players. There were some players out there who didn't play that much at Forest. There were other players out there who eventually out there who played the full game. But yeah, and I think showing we can make 6 changes does start to show if you've got more squad depth and a stronger bench, then doing that is much more possible. Because obviously, I mean, I'll give a stat later on about the amount of matches we played, but it's just got to be ridiculous, and the authorities have got to find a better way of doing this. Otherwise, clubs are going to have squads of 35 players just to be able to get through the season.
I mean, I'll pick you up on that point there, Ian, because I think it was Ed Hadwin asked Gary Hours the same thing. And he said, well, I'm having none of it, really. He said, admittedly, the game is different to what it was 30 years ago. There's no doubt about that. But you know
Massively.
and you know, and it's quicker and it demands a higher level of fitness. But I don't know. I mean, we whinge about it. It's an excuse. And I mean, my view was that I think XR Robin said on the forum, or it might have been Twitter earlier in the week, that, you know, we got to cut them some slack because they're tired. And I said, I disagreed. I said, no, because I said there's 2 or 3 players to come back in from the starting lineup. As it turned out, it was only 2 or 3 players to come back in. And some of our better players didn't play a full 120 minutes. And, okay, the spine of the team, which was, if you like, Max and the 2 centre-halves, yeah, they both did 120, and they certainly didn't seem to be looking legless, because if they had been poor in the centre at the back, I'm sure we would have conceded more than the one that we did rather disappointingly at the end. Mark, your thoughts on the bench and maybe not including Mabude?
Well, he was on the bench.
Yeah. not including him
Yeah,
from the
I mean,
start.
I would have been surprised if we'd have pitched him in, because he's only played 3 games and some recent friendlies for KVC Westerlo, and we can go on to why that has been later. But I think, I agree with Ian. I mean, it's easy to say we shouldn't be leggy, but I mean, I think the game demands a lot more energy, and the way that the team play in terms of pressing, that demands a lot more energy. And I just think the number of games that come a lot more quickly. And I just think the player, the changes were necessary, but surprising in the addition of Cornick starting, because he's been so inconsistent and been mainly used off the bench. I can't remember another game that he started. Somebody will have to help me there, but he played really well. Williams was probably rested because of playing 3 games in 7 days, or 3 games in 6 days as it'll be. So that was a good one. James was great again. But the back 4, probably they don't do as much running as the others. But yeah, they've had a lot of games. Tanner, Pring, Dickey, and Viner have been mainstays for us for the majority of the season. So they're going to be a bit more tired, but they probably don't do as much running as midfielders and the forwards now, because the game demands that you play high and you try and press teams back. That's where all the energy's going. So I think we're thankful that we got players like Roberts who've come back in now, that we got 3 midfielders who are fit, and Garner, Hitman, James, and Williams, although the demands will mean we'll have to rotate. So I think, we've got to be thankful that we've got a nearly fit squad, and we'll have more players coming back in a few weeks.
Well,
so
we
let's
hope
be
to.
thankful. It was a bit of a gamble today, the way we played in the second half, but it paid off. If it didn't, the manager would have got pelters. But he can do that, and because he had confidence in his defenders, and Tanner again was outstanding. Dickey and Viner played well, but I think we invited too much pressure. There should have been a way of perhaps dealing with that.
Yeah, no, we did. We did invite too much pressure. Ian, let's get into the action. Ian, I mean, George Tanner had a attempted lob that was saved early on, and before the first goal, Cornick was in the clear. Good save by the keeper, or should Harry have done better?
To be honest, I'd say both. I think Cornick should have scored, or he could have slipped it inside to Naki Wells, who was coming through from behind him. But it was a good save by the keeper. He stuck his hand out, and he made a good save, and Max made a few good saves today. So we can't begrudge him that. Dave, can I just you made a point about, well, I'm not having it, or mentioned Gary Howard said I'm not having it. Since the 3rd of December, we've played 16 games in 66 days. So that's a game every 3.6 days. And we've done that with an injured squad. Badly injured. Now, it's all very well saying, well, clubs have got squads. Clubs have got squads. But if 6 of your players, 7 even at one time, are injured, and you've got a squad of about 24, you're in trouble. And if you look at our bench against QPR, touch wood, if all goes well, will be absolutely unrecognisable from the benches we've been putting out. And I don't say that is in detriment to any of the younger lads that have been filling in. And in fairness, they haven't played a lot. But I do say that it would make us stronger, more competitive. And in depth, listen, we're not going to start smashing every team 5-0, but it will give us the opportunity, if we're chasing a game, to bring on better players than we could have done before. That was my point. But on Harry Cornick's, I mean, he missed one, but Belly missed one. He should have scored, but I mean, Sam's just doesn't seem to have any confidence in front of goal at the moment, which is a pity, because he is a good finisher normally. But let's hope he snaps out with that.
All right, I'll stick with you for the first goal, Ian, and it was Rob Dickey, provider for what is Knight's 6th goal of the season. That was good. Take us through that. It was good pass and move, wasn't it, and finish.
Rob Dickey's very good at coming out from the back. but this time he came out from the back into midfield, and when he played that ball, he was probably about, I don't know, 25, 30 yards from goal. Nice straight pass. Great run from Knighting. I thought he stood on the ball or overran it or something, but then he took it inside, brought it back, and put it away in the bottom corner. I mean, he's a you've got two things for that. You've got somebody that can pass the ball, and you don't need to be the best passer of the ball to do it in the world to do it. It's a straight pass with the side of your foot, right? But you've got to see that pass. And that's something that Rob Dickie does that a lot of other players in our side don't. And that's a value. And at that point, to make this point, Mark said about the second half where they just pushed us right back, and we were, let's be honest, we weren't in it. But everybody was playing higher up the pitch. We were closing down their defenders, and we stopped them playing out. In the second half, their defenders must have, I'm surprised a couple of them didn't get deck chairs, because we really didn't put them under any pressure at all. And like I said, we got it spot on in the first half. Second half, as Mark said, our tactics paid off, but only just. And the goal they scored was his, let's be honest, was his jammy as hell as well. So, it's but great to get a result, as Danny Harris has said on here.
I know. I think we've only lost now 2 of the last 11 games up there, so it's lucky ground. Martin, come to you now. The goal at night, 6th goal of the season. We've been crying out for goals from midfield.
But it's great. It's great for Knight, David, because that's the type of goal that you want to see an attacking midfield score, because it's a great run. But Dickie, he storms into that space. There's lots of space. Defence is backing off. And it's a beautiful pass. That's what we want to see more of. It's risk and reward. He plays it through. Knight arrives on the spot. He's got 2 defenders in front of him. You think he's going to take it first time, but as Ian said, it looks like he steps on the ball. So he swivels round, and then he just guides it into the net. The keeper's on the floor, and he just hits it into the net. Terrific goal. But a defender acting as an auxiliary midfielder in Dickie, because the space is there for him to run into, and we see him make those runs. But why don't he, instead of just passing it sideways to a winger, why didn't he do that? He could do that at Ashton Gate, or even try and lift the ball over. Just get somebody running onto the ball, can't be offside, and you get a goal, and you think, that's great. Want to see more of that. Great goal.
Yeah. And Mark, virtually from the kickoff, it was a second goal. I mean, Hackney, is it one of their starlets? I suppose
we've got to thank Luke Ayling as well, because Luke Ayling comes down the right-hand side. He tries to play it to Hayden Hackney, but he makes a mess of it, and Matty James just runs into that space. And he's got players to the right and left of him, like the charge of the City Brigade, bears down on the goal, and he hits it cleanly into the bottom left corner. The goalkeeper's right. He just passes the ball past him. Yeah. I thought he struck the ball hard, but if you see it behind the goal, he passes it into the back of the net like a De Bruyne. Great goal from Matty.
Did it go off the post? I thought, didn't it? Yes.
I think it was inside the post, and I don't know what his goal celebration was. It was I was
going to say about that. Yeah,
it was like a half robot, this sort of thing. But it was, a lovely struck shot, and we're 2-0 up, and I'm thinking, what's going on? I'm looking around for some hard liquor, because we scored 2 goals in 2 minutes, and I just can't believe it,
Yeah. And for those of you that are watching this live, this is not alcohol. This is some sort of flavoured tonic with ice. Okay, so don't worry about that. Ian,
of course it is, mate.
Nouveau Chateau de Neuf 66, isn't it, David? It's good.
This is.
It's obviously gone to his head, Ian.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know how strong it is, but
you
froze there for a minute. Mate, it must be pretty strong stuff.
Must be. It's not.
Matt Pickles has said,
You're not drinking antifreeze again, are you?
Could be. Ian,
following City does that.
2 goals from midfielders, and Matty James third. I mean, it's like James and Williams, they've been immense for us this week in their own way. Yeah. Both are out of contract. The goal, and probably neither of them will be here come August, would you think?
Well, it depends. Joe's in contract talks, and it depends if he wants to sign it. But obviously, the way he's playing, he may get better offers elsewhere. I don't think if I had to bet money, I wouldn't think Matty James and Andy King would get one. Although I think JMO might get offered a year, but he might think he's got a better opportunity of a longer contract if he moves on. And the other side of it, it depends, as well as them wanting to stay. It depends what else they're offered, and it depends who else we're able to bring in. Because Max Bird scored again today, so he'll be here. So if I was a betting man, I think there's a reasonable chance Joe will sign, but it depends. It depends what he's offered and who else we can get for that money. And I think the same applies to a few other players.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, not long after that, I mean, Middlesbrough, I have to say, I said midway through the second half before we well and truly went back in I'd say the last 25 minutes, but I thought Middlesbrough were pretty rubbish. And if I was a Middlesbrough fan, I wouldn't have been very pleased with how my team had played. And certainly in the first half, that was because we were pretty good. I mean, we almost made it 3 in 3 minutes because Knight had a lob. But Mark, Middlesbrough, they're a bit of an inconsistent team. They had a few chances, didn't they? Hackney did a cheeky back heel that went just wide, and then he shot wide as well. They sort of had a brief flurry in the latter middle part of the first half, didn't they? Which they had to do. They had to show something.
Yeah, they were getting a lot of joy down the right from Luke Ayling. He was providing a lot of crosses. City generally dealt with that well in the area. Max had to make a couple of saves, and there were a couple that were scuffed wide, and City conceded a few corners. But they reminded me of City a little bit in that they played the ball confidently and placed it, but kept losing it. They had a high line and they were just getting picked off. Now that happens to us a lot. Johnny Howson, who's their playmaker, midfielder, was on the bench. Matt Crooks is leaving the club. He's seeking a move to the States, and they just lost Morgan Rogers as well to Aston Villa. So there were a few changes there. So they lost a bit of potency, I think. I'll tell you what I didn't like though. I mean, there were a couple of challenges. There was a late challenge on Matty James as he cleared the ball in the first half, and there was another one, where players were kicked late and the referee didn't do anything. It was, giving them a last chance, but a couple of kicks went on Dickey and James that could have received a booking, and you could have had a couple of injuries there, I thought.
Yeah, and Pringy went off towards the end anyway, didn't he? Yeah,
he got another kick. He got another late one from a Middlesbrough player, and he didn't recover.
I mean, Ian, we could have gone in with further goals at break because Wells did a back heel, putting Knight away, easy save for the goalkeeper, and then Harry Cornick setting up Sam. You said about Sam's lack of confidence, but that makes it game over on 38 minutes if Sam puts that away, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was surprised that Sam didn't take it round the goalkeeper, but it could. I think it was probably one of those ones where he had a bit too much time, and he thought about what he was going to do, and he was going to go right, go left, have a shot, go round the keeper, and in the end, he pretty much did nothing. I mean, the keeper spread himself out well, and that was a second of a really good save. So Boro can't complain too much when Max made some really good saves, particularly from a deflected shot where he punched it straight out. I mean, when he first punched it, I thought, why didn't he just catch it? But it got a late deflection. So he had to adjust and make sure he didn't punch it into the net or try and hold it and it slipped through his hand. So apart from his kicking today, which was pretty second rate, I thought Max had a really good game.
As a goalkeeper can. It's not been a great week for Sam, has it, Mark? Because, he was crestfallen, missing the penalty, and then that one-on-one chance. Again, good involvement by Cornick there, but, he'll want to be hunkering down until Tuesday, won't he?
Yeah, I mean, let's leave the penalties aside. Somebody's got to miss one, and that was just unfortunate it was him, because he had a good game Tuesday. Generally looked good going forward and made an outstanding goal-saving tackle in extra time as well when he got back
He
into
did.
defence. So I think really we can forget about the penalty, because it could have been one of any of the four that took the penalties on Tuesday. But yeah, I mean, I think when the keeper comes out, he's right on the edge of the area. Really, he should have shifted the ball right, as a right-footed player, because the team were 2-0 up. Just take it away, and even if you're wide, just see, see what happens. Really, he didn't show any confidence. He kicks the ball straight at the keeper. He hasn't really got time. I suppose if he'd been a bit quicker, he could have hit it over the keeper, but he has to shift it wide. Credit to Cornick, takes the ball out of defence and he hits it through the defender's legs, straight
Mm.
down the middle. Terrific. And he made some great runs in the first half. I don't know, I've had a real go at Harry Cornick, because he hasn't looked like a good performer. Lots of substitute appearances where he looks like the game's passed him by when it's frenetic. Today, he looked controlled. He was a good target man for City in the way that that he could play. He could hold the ball up, and he was a good outlet coming out of defence. So it was, like I said, it was just a mystery why he went off, because he started all our attacks. Once you take him out, a player like that, with an outlet ball, we surrender possession.
We did, and there've been a few comments about Tommy's performance in the second half, which we'll come on to. Ian, Boro had a chance just before the break. It was Force, ex-Brentford player, crossing the ball, and then Azaz did a flick that was easy one for Max. Yeah, he saved it. But Force at Brentford was sort of striker. I've got a friend who's a Brentford fan who knew he was going to leave there. Were we in for Force, and was he the sort of bloke that the type of striker that we could do with ourselves?
I don't honestly know, Dave, if we were in for him, but I looked at him today and I thought something in nothing, really.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Whether when he was 2-3 years ago he was pie I don't know, but Borough have had an awful lot of changes up there this year, and they've gone through a period of selling their best players. The other issue is that they had an awful lot of players on loan, or a few really good players on loan last season. And what happens when you do that is that if you can't get those players back, or you can't get equally good players in on loan, you're bound to struggle. And a lot of the players that they had were attacking players, goal scoring players.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said on the text, I'm really, really glad Crooks wasn't playing, because he always seems to score against us one way or the other. So he's off to the States. So good luck to the boy, and I'm just glad he won't. I'm just glad he won't play in today, because he's just the sort of player they need to come on, big number 9 down the middle, because I think that's what they lacked. I mean, that goal they had disallowed for offside. I mean, you can't see unless you're there, and he could have been done for coming back from offside. But blimey, that one half close.
Yeah. Okay, so into the second half, and it starts with an immediate halftime substitution. And when you see Mehmeti coming on, Mark, it doesn't fill you with joy. And we lost something with Cornick going off. Maybe he could have stayed on for another 20 minutes. Were you surprised at the timing and who it was coming on at halftime?
Yeah, because Cornick was so good. He was probably our best player in the first half. I don't think that was Mehmeti's fault. He's a wide player, and he was playing permanently wide. Really, both Cornick and him were there to stop Luke Ayling. Funny enough, Luke Ayling was playing further back and coming inside. He didn't really make as many runs. I'm not saying that was exclusively down to Mehmeti, or perhaps Pring, who was covering him, but he didn't make as many wide runs as he did in the first half. But we just didn't have somebody who could hold the ball and carry it forward. Mehmeti certainly wasn't that. I just loved to hear from Liam why Cornick was taken off, and totally bemused, really.
Yeah.
We just
To use
didn't.
one of to use. I'm trying to talk like Liam Manning here, and the outcomes. I wasn't sure whether we got the right outcomes for that. Yeah, I
Well, I
don't know.
think he was.
That's nowhere near as good as Ian's
His
Gary
Radio
Johnson
Bristol
impression.
interview, it was
Yeah.
like, it was completely different to what you saw. I mean, it was a bit strange. You back your side, but it was like we carried out the game plan. Well, if the game plan was to hold on, well, then we did it. Fair enough, but you could just be honest and say that. We got our game coming up on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I decided to go to a back five. That was the plan, and the defence held out. They got a lucky goal. People would have said, "Oh, okay, bit of honesty."
I got a laugh at Tim Monaghan's put on there and said the background blur on Dave's camera makes him look like Audrey Hepburn. So that's Phil Silvers the other week from somebody, Audrey Hepburn from somebody else.
Phil Silvers, I can see. Audrey Hepburn. I mean, that's grossly unfair on Audrey.
It's not even a blurred background, actually.
Yeah. So, David, when were you in Breakfast at Tiffany's or something? Were you?
No, I wasn't in that. I suppose to some extent, is it Richard Dickett, one of the Attenboroughs, when he played Mr. Crippen, 10 Rillington Place, because he's got that balding.
Oh God! Oh,
yeah.
don't say that.
It's almost
Actually,
going back about 30 years. It's worrying me now, because you remember that bloke Johnny Bryan that was caught sucking Sarah Ferguson's toes back in the 90s.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Out there.
I wonder what you were going to say then, but yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't think I want to be compared to a serial killer. I don't think you should mention.
No, I was comparing the actor.
Oh, I see. Well, that's okay then.
If you've seen that film,
okay.
10 Rillington Place. Ian, players have to go off for 30 seconds, and Pringy went off. They had a chance just after Pring had a shot saved on 51 minutes, and Pringy was ambling down. And I said to Neil, because I watched the game with Neil, Pring was ambling down. Pring was still off when Greenwood put that shot away. That would have been a bit disappointing, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realise that, but I think Pringy should have gone off, and Roberts should have come on the first time Pring went down.
Yeah.
Because he was pointing at the side of his right knee. Now the physio came out there and gave it a good pull about and a good tug. So I'm not here thinking, and I saw him walk off. So I'm not here thinking, oh my God, he's done his ACL. But I mean, at least we can say now that if we're going to go up against Southampton, and particularly if we play with wing backs, we have got two guys that can play wing back. One right, one left. So and I think that some of the subs could have been possibly prearranged, but I don't think. I mean, some are fairly obvious, aren't they? Williams for James, and Roberts for Cam when he got a knock. But I mean, I don't get the Harry Cornick one at halftime, because to be honest, that's the best I've seen him play for us.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And Mark, the double substitution came. Ian's just referred to Williams and Roberts coming on late on for James and Pring, respectively. But McCree coming on for Conway, Bell for Wells. Yeah. Sorry, but I've got that mixed up there, haven't I? Bell. That's right. Bell went off. What was happening there? I've got that totally wrong. McCree and Conway came on. Wells and Bell went off. There we go. I got that right. McCree, are we still awaiting to see the best of him? What is his best position, do you think?
Well, I think we brought him in to be a right back, but I think he can play right midfield as well. So maybe we use him as a utility player as needs must. I mean, we've got to remember that. I mean, he's fought back from a debilitating bacterial infection, which probably destroyed a lot of tissue, and he's had to build his strength back up and his condition and his fitness just to recover from that. Lost a pre-season, so we won't see the best of McCree until next season. So they're managing his time. That's what they're doing. They are managing his time. So we'll have to wait and see, about his directness, in his physicality. It's something that I think we're crying out for. So we'll just have to wait and see what his best position is, because at the moment George Tanner is playing really well on right side of defence or right sided centre back really when we play a free, because Cornick played McCree played there the other night, didn't he? As right back from the start against Forest. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, we won't see his best, the best of Ross until next season because of the fitness problem. So manage his time in this. We'll see a very bright, but we see somebody who likes to make an impact on a game. He likes to grab if he
they
can.
Battered
He likes
us,
to grab the game.
Really, they battered us really in that closing stage.
Well, we had
Ian.
nobody, David. At the start of the first half, we screened the defense. The defensive screen was really good. So when they did play the ball high up, and they were pinning us down, we had somebody to play the ball out. We just stopped doing that in the second half. It was almost like we said, "Here's the ball. Attack versus defense. Big boys against the small lads. See if you can get past us."
Yeah.
And we'll
Dave's made a comment. Dave Febbs has made a comment on here. Great result, was what he said on Radio Bristol. 3 points on the road. But he feels disappointed and frustration that we got absolutely dominated in the second half and clung on. And as we've been saying in this last few moments, why the system change at half time? In the second half, they played on and through us. Ian, you commented about Greenwood's goal offside, thankfully for us, with 77 minutes. And you think then if the game's going to go on for another quarter of an hour, those legs are going to feel tired, regardless. But that one was disallowed. The goal that was scored on the 91st minute, and that was preceded by a number of saves from Max and half chances. Glad that the game literally had 3 minutes left.
Yeah, I was really glad. But then again, look on the bright side, we could have been at least 3, if not 4, up by half time. So, and then the game really would have been dead. So, we got out of it. I think everybody would have taken a win by any means possible. And to start off playing really well, it could have been that we simply just ran out of energy in that second half. And we've got a really tough game coming up against Southampton. And then after that, we play QPR, and then we start getting a week's break between games. Now, when Liam Manning's got all the players in training, imagine what he can do when you see what he's done on occasions with half of them. So, you then get a situation where you could say, well, okay, Sykes is back, so we'll go with wing backs against QPR, and George can play right centre back, or Ross McCree can fit in there, and we can give George a rest. But there are lots of. It's a real shame Max Bird couldn't stay here, but that was the only way that we could get the deal across the line. So it's no point crying over spilt milk, and he'll be a good player next season. But no, I think Huddersfield scored 3 goals, and at one point we're leading 3-2 at Southampton, against Southampton today. We're a much better team than Huddersfield, and we've got a much better defence than they've got. And first half against Southampton, we should have been a goal or 2 up. So let's not be too downhearted and despondent. We just won a game, and we need to build on that. Now, Manning will be all over how Southampton play and what they do. We need to set up, but depends how we set up, who's fit, who plays. We're saying Cornick went off tactical. He could have an injury. So let's wait and see, and let's see how Cam is before we start saying, well, I'd play this team and I'd play that team, because the story of our season has been, as soon as one bloke gets better, another bugger gets injured.
Another one drops
so
out.
Let's just we just need to calm down. We know where we are. I worked out all the numbers for promotion, playoffs, 6th place, and relegation. We ain't getting relegated. There's not a hope in hell, because the last 6 years, the average points total to be safe is 44, and we're sat on 41 with 45 to play for. So that ain't happening.
That's pretty good.
In terms of the playoffs, hang on, I got a bit of a chart here that I sat down and went through. The playoffs is 73 is the average number of points. Now, it has been as low as 69 and as high as 77. That's the last 6 years. So let's start looking up the table and see what we can do. And I think you said earlier on, Dave, the run's got to come to an end. Southampton's run's got to come to an end at some time.
Yeah.
Why not against us?
Well, I'm glad that they did win today, because that they had a scare against Huddersfield because they were 2-0 down, got back to 2-2, 3-2 down, and then won in the manner that they did. Mark, Luke Morris has made a comment on here. This is on the Twitter feed, or not on the Twitter feed to the pod, but just a comment that he said, "Great result, but I'm starting to lose patience with Conway. He came on and did nothing but moan, throw his arms up and jog. Been doing that for a while now. Annoying, as Cornick would have put more effort in. Rest of the bench run themselves into the ground. Class act." Tommy's not in a great place at the moment, is he? In terms of, until he gets his contract sorted out, that's either with us or with somebody else. Is he letting it affect his game? Is his head not as well as it could be?
We don't know. I mean, we can only be subjective, can't we? We haven't got a clue what goes on. We're only going to be influenced by whether he takes chances, scores goals. I mean, he got no service in the second half. You saw the rain coming down. The fine rain coming off the Trent. It looked really bad and windy, but I think he just got no service. He's a player that thrives on good service, and he's not a bad finisher. He didn't really get any service, and he was just chasing lost causes because there wasn't anything. It was just they were camped in our half for the majority of the second half. So don't think that was down to Tommy. It's just frustration. I think the good thing about it, I think what we're seeing with the team is that you've got the heart of the team's there. They're working their backsides off. Defense is playing really well. You've got one of the best defenses in the league. It's a 4-line. We need that needs to click. We're probably better away from home because we can play on the counter attack. As showed today, we've got the ability to play out from the back, but we got to sort out our home form. That will, if we can string some wins together at home, then we'll probably go past the 60 points to beat last season's total, and that will satisfy a lot of people because that was what Pearson got last season, 59 points.
That's the first target. If we can get halfway between where we finished last season and 6th, which means sort of about 10th or 11th, I think people will be happy.
Well, I think it's, but again, it's injuries.
Of course,
we got a revolving door of injuries. So once we have I don't know if you're ever going to have a fully fit side because of the impact of several games and on players. But if we get a full squad, we're matched for anybody.
As Ian says, though, we're never going to have everybody fit. It's never going to happen in some shape or form. Ian, referee today, Sam Allison. Decent performance from him?
I thought so. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't influenced by the home crowd. I have to say, I thought all the officials were good today. And I mean, on the injuries, everybody gets 1 or 2, and they get some. Then they're back. Then somebody else is out. And I mean, that's just the cutting thrust of the game. But you've only got to see how getting a lump of injuries, a mass of injuries, affects really good teams. Liverpool lost all their centre backs one year, and they were nothing like it. I mean, they didn't go down or anything daft like that, but they were nothing like as successful. Newcastle this year have had a pile of injuries. They're getting their players back, and guess what? They're getting better results. So it's not, and unless they're going to reduce the wages in the game to the point where a club can say, like Bristol City, can say, well, I mean, we'll have 34, 35 first team players. And then we can stand having 4 to 6 injuries. I mean, I just cannot see that happening. So what there needs to be is some way of playing less football. And my idea on that is to go from 4 divisions to 5 and reduce the number of games that people are playing. So you've got 19 teams in the Premier League. Is it? Oh no, 20. Sorry, teams in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So why not drop down to 20 in
Well,
the Championship?
yeah. Well,
And
I
then
don't know about 20. I mean,
so
we're
on and
old.
so forth.
Yeah, well, we're old
And
enough to
then
remember, Ian. We're old enough to remember where the Championship and what is now the Premier League was 42 games a season. Yeah, and that's reducing the number of games by 10%, right? Which is, they say, fine margins. If you made the early rounds of the League Cup sudden death at 90 minutes, not have a team flogging itself to play extra time. Mark, what are you going to say on that front?
Well, of course, in
Mark.
the League Cup, if games were in the rounds, if games were level after after full time, they went straight to penalties. I think there's probably a case for doing that in the FA Cup. I don't think either manager is, knowing their position with Nuno Espirito Santo and Liam Manning. The other day they would have said, "Fine, let's go straight to penalties." Because of the wear and tear on players, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
That's if Liam had been honest, is why we saw the second half performance. Perhaps he didn't expect us to surrender possession so much, but when you stop pressing and you take off your best outlet and you really change tactics and formation, that's going to happen. So either he's he could be, perhaps he's training to be a politician. I don't know, but there you go.
Dave Trotter's said on here, less games equals less revenue. Will not happen. Sadly, will be like shrinkflation. I mean, I can remember back in the day where my digestive biscuit, I had to break a piece off to dunk it in my cup, whereas now it drops in. Now, they certainly haven't reduced the price of a pack of digestive biscuits, but they have reduced the size. So I don't see. And if we get promoted, if we did get promoted up to the Premier League, the prices are going to go up anyway for less games. It's disproportionately higher. But there we go.
Yeah, you lose 8 games a season. That's a lot. 4 home games is a lot of revenue, isn't it?
It is. Mark, I'll ask you the question, and I'll ask Ian as well. But before I do, Mark, you've done some research on Mabude. You've spoken to a journalist in Belgium, who would have come on the podcast as a guest this evening, but he's covering a match over there. Just tell us what you can about Darren Mabude, who didn't get on the pitch today, but he's had experience of the first team match day experience. He's had a tough start to the new year on a personal level, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's been reading what they picked up about Dire. Dire followed his brother to Belgium. His brother Dapo plays for KV Oostend as a striker. They both came through Rangers and made appearances for Scotland youth. Now, Dapo was on his way to training in January and smashed his car into a tree and had to be cut from the wreckage. Luckily, he's in recovery and he's had surgery, but that would have distracted Dire. Now, the gentleman concerned is Kirsten Stuurbout, who's the Gazette van Antwerpen. I'm not making this up, for KVC Westerlo. So he covers their games. So I got in touch with Kirsten a few days ago and asked him what impact how Dire had played for KVC Westerlo, that we'd heard in the local media from Liam Manning that Brexit issues had affected his time there, and he's got back to me today, and I'll read you his message on WhatsApp. Hello, Mark. About Dire, from what I know, there haven't been problems with visa problems or Brexit issues. Dire has played in the second, third and fourth game of the season, not long after he arrived at the club. Before training camp, he had some passport problems to enter Turkey. He didn't have the right passport, but he only joined the group 1 day later. About his performance, in his first game, a 30-minute substitution against Club Bruges, he made a good impression with some nice dribbles and individual actions. 2 games later, he was rewarded with a starting spot against Anderlecht. It was a terrible performance and he was subbed during half-time. As he played that game as a right back, it might be an excuse as he's not used to that position. Of course, we know he's a winger and played brilliantly for Man City Academy with a guy called Claudio Borges, and he played with Oscar Bob, of course, who's now in the first team. I'll carry on. That are the only things I can remember about him, as I didn't see him play with the under-23 during training camp, which he left for a few days. His brother has had a car accident and was fighting for his life. He's been used as a sub in friendly game against FC Bocholt and Rapid Bucharest. He played well, quick and hungry to show himself, and tried to make some actions. Apart from that, I can't tell you much about him. If you need some more info, I can ask the press officer of the club.
Okay, that's quite helpful. So maybe not something that's going to have a massive impact.
No, I think we're going to have to be patient.
Yeah,
but
he's been brought in on the basis of what he did at Man City Academy, rather than what he's been doing. Ian, a question I want to ask you: were you going to reveal some numbers today, or was that what you've done? The number of games that we played in this 16 games.
Well, the numbers, the numbers in this run. The second thing was how many points is required for safety in the division, and how many points is required for the playoffs. Just a quick one is an update today. Rob Atkinson played 45 minutes for the under-21s in a 2-2 draw.
Yeah.
Our under-18s won 2-1 away and are top of their league. And two of our players were watched by England scouts today. These are the under-18 players. So
which ones, Ian? Do you know?
I'll double check, but I'll come back to you on that.
Sorry,
one of them was the winger Morrison,
Elijah,
and there's another lad
got 2 goals in midweek, didn't he, Morrison, as well?
Yeah, and what goals they were. And the other one is a lad called Kovoskos. First of all, I thought it was Kosovo, but it's Kovosko. Now, those lads like that, I mean, that game against Burnley, where we won 3-0, there were 28 scouts down there looking at our under-18s, because our under-18s are top of their league by a mile. So, there's some quality coming through, but I think we have to start seeing it delivered. And I think going back, you mentioned Tommy. I didn't get a chance. I think with Tommy, it's the same as Naki. It's the same as it's service. The service to our front players. If I was one of our front players, I got to be honest, I'd get fed up and walk off the pitch and say, look, stick another midfield player on, because there's no point me being on there. And that's, you see that in games. We played brilliantly in the first half against Forest, never had a shot on target. And that's not just the fault of the strikers. That's the fault of the players that have got to give the ball to the strikers. And we know that. And ever since the band broke up, the WSM, ever since that broke up, we haven't been able to score goals in any consistent number. So that is just
and midfield's
what we are, and that's why he's going out in the summer and getting a mobile, strong front guy that can hold the ball up.
Yeah, all right,
but not a head on the stick, a footballer.
Not a Kiefer Moore type or anything like that.
No.
Quick response from both of you. You first, Mark. Blue cards in football. It's not even been on FIFA's agenda, as somebody said to me today. So, and I heard a few comments on the shambles of a program that football focuses these days. But it's adding a further complication. Do you agree with that view, or do you have a different view?
It will do, but there's a way that you can eradicate that, because of course managers like Ange Postecoglou will say that teams will just waste time for 10 minutes. Well, they will do, but if you just stop the clock like they do in rugby league and in rugby union, you'd eradicate that. They couldn't waste time. So that's what you do, and then they stay in the sin bin until the actual minutes are used up in match time, not in real time. So you'd eradicate that. So one needs to accompany the other to make it work. But it's a good idea in principle if it stops stupid tactical fouling.
Good point there, Mark. And for you to pick up on, Ian, it's interesting. The time added on in the World Cup last year, that we did seem to be getting more ball in play because the referee was stopping his watch for stuff. And we seem as though we've got back. There's the odd game in particularly the Premier League, where, it's 6 minutes of time added on. But if you looked at how we all thought it was going to be at the start of the season, we'd be seeing 3 o'clock games finish after 5 o'clock. But all bar Southampton and who is it, Huddersfield today, and I think Wickham and Peterborough, all the results were in by before 5 when the results. So blue cards, and I'd agree with Mark that stopping the clock so that we do get more ball in play, that would be a good thing. Yes?
I could never understand why in this day and age the referee has to keep the time anyway.
Yeah.
Because there's a fourth official, there's lots of other people. So you could have an unbiased, it wouldn't be any good having a club official doing it, because he might sneak 5 minutes on there, and there would always be that accusation. Instead of saying he was incompetent, people would say he was corrupt. But yes, blue cards for me, no. Sort out VAR first, get that working 100% correct. All the lines drawn in the right place, and let's not have any of those nonsense things happen. If you want to give a sin bin, give it for a yellow card if you want to do that. I think that would actually be more effective. Having said that, yellow cards now aren't like bookings when I was playing, or when I was watching it 50 years ago, because to get sent off, you had to more or less kill somebody, and there was no such thing as a second booking. It was either you got booked or you got sent off, one or the other. So I think there's scope, without introducing another card and another level of complication for the poor old ref. I think you could say, right, if it's a yellow card, you could have a yellow card and a sin bin. So if somebody pulls somebody's shirt and it's a bit petulant or something like that, they get a yellow card, but they don't go off. If somebody brings somebody down, if somebody brings somebody down and they're not exactly through on goal, so it's not a red, but you still give them a yellow, the referee tells them to go in the sin bin. So
Ian, you just said it yourself there. If what is, you're creating more decisions for the referee or VAR to make, and sadly, or is it a good thing, should VAR be in the Championship? Maybe it probably will be within 3 years because the financial stakes are higher. But you've played into that hand of it's creating an extra layer of decision making. But equally, and I agree with you there, that the timekeeping should be the fourth official. I think a fourth official could be a good timekeeping person, to be quite honest. Yeah. Or
somebody's just put something interesting on the text feed that said that more or less goes on it as it is now, but you could have that like they do in rugby, where the hooter goes, and the next time the ball goes out of play, then that's the end of the game. So everybody knows when it's going to be. You're not guessing like today. It was 5 minutes added time, and I think we finished up playing something like 6.5.
And he did, because he gave them a free kick just outside the box when we'd gone past the 5th minute of time. It got charged
they would have
down,
added 30 seconds to a minute on for the goal that they scored at injury time, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But going back to the time, I think it's another colour card is to show a distinction. Of course, people will be watching on TV, so it's to make that distinction between yellow and red cards. But the problem is that football's moved so slowly in terms of officiating. It hasn't made it easier for referees. We made it harder. We've had players, ill-disciplined players, like the Man United thing, when they almost used to, at Old Trafford, they would push the referee almost into the stand. They go over to the sideline, and there'd be players surrounding the referee, and they would intimidate them. Now it's a zero tolerance from dissent. Zero tolerance. That's good, but it's been so slow. Goal line technology. It took so long to come in. For clear goals. FIFA fought against that. Platini and Serge and Blatter fought against it for years. So the reason is it's because football has moved so slowly in the way it's officiated. The game is getting faster. That's why a lot of fans say, "Oh, why has there got to be changes?" Because tactical fouling ruins the game, and players aren't being punished correctly in real time. They've got to find a way around this, because this taken one for the team, and the term professional foul It's
Yeah.
it's an abomination. What? It's
Been
not
around for a
nothing
long time.
professional
Been
about
around
it.
for a long time. I mean,
But there's
Winford
nothing
70.
professional about it, is it? Is
No,
there?
no, it's a cheating foul. That's
Yeah.
that's what that is.
It's
It's
how much
cheating.
can we get
Not-
away with, subject to the referee. How long's a piece of string? I'll give you 1, 2, 3 chances before I
yeah,
book you,
yeah.
depending on the referee in the game.
It's not
So
playing
that's
with the
what it is.
spirit. Not
It's
playing in the
down
spirit
to
of the game.
yeah.
Winford 73 said on the text feed, blue cards will be carnage. Players waiting to come off. Players waiting to come on. Subs boards going up. Really, yeah. I'm inclined to agree with him there. That would be not very
The
good.
other side of it is if a player goes off for 10 minutes, it's one thing doing that over in warm countries, but you do it here when it's freezing cold and the bloke's got to sit on the bench for 10 minutes, then come back on. We're going to get even more muscular injuries. You can just see it, can't you? Bloke's
but
running,
I mean,
he's sweating, he's all loose and ready to go. Next minute, 10 minutes in the sin bin, and he comes out and his teeth are chattering. So I just don't think it
You could
adds
say
anything
you
to the
could say
game.
toughing, couldn't you? To that, that's that if that's the case, that's it. I mean, I'll tell you what they used to do
climate change.
with the substitute.
Sorry, Mark.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mark. I'm just going to pick up on Ian's point. But obviously, with climate change, it will be warmer in the middle of Jan, so maybe less of a problem in 2 or 3 years' time.
Not that bloody quick, it won't.
Well, some people think it might be. Sorry, Mark. What were you going to say?
I'm going to say I saw this a few years ago, but you see rugby substitutes in rugby union warming up on the sidelines on exercise bikes. I mean,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be practical in a lot of football grounds because there isn't a room, but that's what they used to do to keep loose. But if a player gets sin binned, it's tough if he has to sit down in the freezing cold wrapped up in his puffer jacket, TOG 24.
He can
That's the
still
way it
keep
is.
warm, though. He can still run up and down the side of the pitch. He's not on the pitch. The other thing I'd like to see as well, in referees, is ref link on the very few occasions I've been to rugby, and it is into double figures, but probably not 24 games in my whole life. But ref link, where you hear what the referee is saying to the players, I think that would be very good. All right, time to wrap up. Atco played for 45 minutes today. Mark Sykes wasn't on the bench. Scott Twine probably wouldn't have expected him to play anyway. Looking forward to Tuesday. Ian, you first. It's a very tough game. Do you think Atco might make the bench on Tuesday? And from your sources, Sykes?
No,
Sykes.
Atco, Sykes, and Naismith are all playing for the under-21s next week.
On Tuesday.
Because Rob did next Tuesday. I think it's Cardiff we're playing. So we've got those three. Scott Twine, I would say there's probably a 75-80% chance of him being on the bench against, depending on who else is fit, on the bench versus Southampton. I think and then the following Saturday we play QPR. Then, barring relapses, further injuries, etc., they should all be available. So if you think about the team we had today, then you had a bench that included Naismith, Sykes, Atkinson. The only one that's now out for longer is Eamon, and Eamon's back on the grass, so it won't be long before he's playing under 21 games. I'm really looking forward to that, because I mean, that kid hasn't been able to buy a bit of luck for the last 2 years. So I'll be cheering my head off when he actually runs onto the field at Ashton Gate.
Definitely. Or even at the HPC in a game. Okay, Ian, just to finish with you, and I'm going to come to Mark. Score result prediction for Tuesday night. I mean, we'd sort of take a draw against a form side, but we want to be giving the home fans something to cheer about in the league at home this season.
Well, as you said earlier on, Dave, the run has got to come to an end somewhere. So why not on a Tuesday night at Ashton Gate? I'm hoping for a performance like Forest in the first half and a result like we got today. But if we play like we did today in the second half, we won't get away with that against Southampton, because they're a better team. And you have to hope Liam Manning realises that and gets his tactics right for that game, which he did. In fairness, he did for the first game against Southampton, and that'll be an interesting one because the Southampton game, when we lost 1-0 down there and they scored a worldie, that was the game Naismith got injured in, and he hasn't been back since.
He hasn't played since.
So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for a positive performance, a positive result. If you said to me now, right, we'll guarantee a point, or you can play the game, I think I'd go for the point. I've got to be totally honest. But
no, I'd like to play the game. I'd like to see us against the best side. Mark, Southampton, they scored 5 goals. Russell Martin football it had a stuttering start. Yeah, I think in all competitions, it's over 20 games unbeaten. Yeah, under the lights again at Ashton Gate. I think I read 23,000 tickets sold. You know, it'd be good for morale if we were to win that one, shouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, I think that's an understatement. The team haven't been beaten since September. I'm really excited by this one, David. You know, a team, you know, best form team in the league at the moment. Really look like they're going for second place. Them and Leeds will probably complete that because, you know, Ipswich will fall away because they don't have the squad depth. But yeah, they play a 4-3-3, so maybe we'll match them with a back four. But we're going to have to be aggressive in the right places, and we're going to have to keep the lines very tight together because we don't want them playing through us easily, and we're going to have to give up a lot of possession. But I think that'll help us because if we can find space behind them, I think we can score goals, and maybe Tommy will get some service and score a goal, and everybody will be happy. But yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, I no doubt. I mean, I was just thinking if we win on Saturday and then beat an ever improving Queen's Park Rangers side, then you know that would put us on 47 points with 13 games to go. And then that 2 points per game, you know, if you get on a run, you know, if we were to win 3 games in a row, and then you look forward, what is it, Sheffield Wednesday after the QPR game, yeah? And you know,
it shows us we're making progress, David, because we wanted to take the great signs from Tuesday's marathon match against Forest into Middlesbrough game. Yeah. I mean, the first half we executed that excellently. Second half we didn't, but there's probably a little bit of an excuse for that with honesty, but you know, not tactically. But Tuesday will be a test. We don't want that to take us backwards, but I think the club hopefully is looking up the division now.
Well, let's start looking up again. We hope so. Guys, you'll be joining me on Wednesday morning, I hope, for a review of the Southampton game. I think Tom Sutton's going to be coming on again. He got some good positives from his last appearance with his dad. Steve Bird, love the 6 o'clock start. Very topical, saying that on the text feed on here. It is easy to do it on a Saturday at 6 when it's an away game. But obviously for home games, you know, we've got various travel and it just doesn't work. But away games, it does work very well for us, I think all of us. And thanks for the positive comments for that effect. But in the meantime, everybody who's listened, enjoy the rest of your weekend and enjoy the start of the week. And let's look forward to Southampton on Tuesday night at Ashton Gate. Everybody, thanks for your support and thanks for listening. All the best. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Cheers.